will tear your soul apart. Tear it apart, your soul. Rip to pieces. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to
You Kill Me.
Film Reviews for Reprobates.
My name is Kasia.
My name is Eugene S. Robinson.
You called and we came.
And the movie today celebrates somebody coming back from the dead. Yeah! So we decided to, I got my tongue. I use a mouthpiece, so I almost bit my tongue off. So we decided to celebrate somebody coming back from the dead on account of this is, if you're a Christian, this is Easter. So we decided to do that. And what better movie than Hellraiser, which was a surprise to me because we were looking for movies. We watch movies all during the week. Mm-hmm. But last night you said, let's watch Hellraiser. Why?
I don't know. I just felt like it's time just to watch it again.
It had nothing to do with Easter then.
Maybe like deep inside, something was just telling me that things about coming back from dead.
Well, hold on. I mean, first of all, you're from Poland.
Yes.
So Poland has it. I mean, Easter people are going crazy there, right? I mean, it's just we don't get work off here. It's because it's on a Sunday and it's like it's on you on Monday.
Well, we're getting Monday off.
Okay.
It's probably partially because we have this tradition. It's called Wet Monday, and you're pretty much running around the town or a house with a bucket of water and pouring it on people.
And how does this signify Jesus Christ escaping with the aliens?
It doesn't. It's a pagan tradition.
So they throw, is it warm water or cold water?
Usually it's cold.
In your face?
Well, yeah, on you in general. I mean, it has something to do with, with spring and people mating and like kind of...
I guess having drinks thrown in your face goes hand in hand with mating, depending on what you say.
No, because it was like boys were chasing after girls, and then the girls were wet, and like everything. It's a rape culture.
It's a rape culture in Poland.
No, but it also had a lot to do with purifying your
body in the waters of Lake Minnetonka.
Yeah.
So if I'm walking,
and like the winter's over, the spring is coming. Purifying, changing.
So if I am walking down the street with a cup of water and I happen to pass somebody and just throw it in their face on to celebrate Easter, would they be upset?
Well, if it's me, I'm beating you up.
Okay.
I always hated that tradition.
So, but if it's an average,
I mean, it's not because people are just going crazy at some point, and it's just like rude. Right. They just rude and they don't know any.
So they are going crazy at some point.
Yeah, I don't want to be a party pooper, but yeah, when they're throwing buckets of water at you from like 4th floor, it's kind of painful. And
I see.
And like you're going somewhere and you have a purpose of going somewhere and you want to look good. Like, for example, right. I don't know.
So people would go out on Sundays?
Yeah, on Mondays.
On Mondays.
It's Monday, yeah.
Right. It seems like this would be a perfect time to get a sports water canister filled with urine.
Yeah, I always wanted to do that. But for example, when I was a kid...
And they say you were a fan of Andre Serrano. See how deep we go? Andre Serrano. Author of Piss Christ. Great artist.
Good for you.
Yeah. All right, so
you did well.
So if I throw urine on somebody, they would probably get annoyed.
Yeah, probably, unless it's Donald Trump, then he's gonna pay you for that.
Anyway, so we're here to talk about Clive Barker's Hellraiser, which I don't know. I'm assuming everybody at this point has seen it, so there are no spoiler alerts needed. But I first encountered it as a story. Like I had a pretty retrograde roommate, and he said that one of the things he did when he was trying to distract me, sorry, I'm choking to death, trying to distract me from the rent that he owes, was to, entertain me in little small ways. I'd be, hey, Rob, I want the fucking hugger. He goes, have you read this? And he gave me Clive Barker books. And so that's where I encountered Hellraiser for the first time. What was the circumstance in which you saw it?
Oh, well, I haven't read the book or
Oh.
books in this case,
Oh.
but I probably watched Hellraiser for the first time when I was like about 7 years old. I mean, just
Bad
like
parenting.
just FYI, my parents just didn't give a crap when what I'm watching, so I had access to all the VHS tapes, and they were just like I could watch everything. I mean, theoretically, I couldn't watch my father's porn collection, but you know, kids, they find everything. So by the age of probably 10, I knew everything
So
about everything.
So was he making an effort to hide these, or was it just...
If an effort is like putting them in your closet,
Okay, well, that's okay. That's dad versions of hiding, you know.
not well, yeah,
That was-
whatever.
yeah,
I
yeah.
could read. I knew that.
Yeah, yeah.
Whatever. Anyway,
Okay, let's get away from the creepy.
no, yes, exactly. Just this is not the subject.
Right. So you watched it when you were 7.
Yeah, and it was.
Were you afraid?
Circumstances were kind of weird because I think I probably must watch it around this period of time, which is probably some kind of, I don't know what, it was kind of a spring break, I guess. And I was babysit by a girl who was about 10 years older than me. She was, our mothers were working together. And I'm assuming that she kind of wanted to get rid of me for a while to like talk on the phone with somebody, and she just like put it on the VHS and like play it for me, and I was like sitting there like, and I was obsessed with anatomy and skeletons and muscles since forever. Like I was sitting on my potty watching anatomical atlases and stuff like this. So to me, it was just like that. It was absolutely terrifying, but it was a treat because there was actually a walking muscle and walking skeleton, and it was so cool.
So you were not afraid?
I was afraid like shit. I was very afraid, but I also couldn't like stop watching. So that was it. I had it with horror movies in general. Like I've watched a lot of horror movies when I was a kid.
Did you have nightmares as a result of the...
I think I had the worst nightmares ever I had after watching Nightmare on Elm Street for some reason. Because
it combined it with sleep.
Yes, exactly. So I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks probably. Yeah.
Well, I think what's interesting about we're in the midst of, you know, Hollywood. Initially, Hollywood, the reference points for Hollywood had been novels, right? This is where you get like F. Scott Fitzgerald was lured out of Long Island out west to help with screenwriting. Bud Schulberg, who wrote What Makes Sammy Run and written a bunch of other books, was a more successful screenwriter. Did On the Waterfront, if I'm remembering correctly. So Hollywood went through, their reference points were initially novels, and then when all the novelists figured out they were going broke, or either successful or going broke, and they weren't needed, back in the 70s, they started, Godfather, Mario Puzo, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, was Ken Kesey. People were still using novels through the 70s. In the 80s, you had a generation of kids, people in their 20s, who were making movies who had no literary reference points, right? So they were referencing other movies, and then we had a horrible period when they made, where Halle Berry was in the Flintstones, where they have a live action Flintstones where people were clearly referencing TV shows. So what was unusual about, I think, whatever year it was, well, you were 7, so this would have been, well, you didn't have to see it right when it came out, because I think it came out before.
Yeah, I was probably like a year or two after. It showed like what, 87?
Something like that.
So I watched it like around 1990, something like that.
So I think one of the majorly cool things about Hellraiser was that it's a throwback in the sense that it was a movie derived from a novel. And not only that, because we're in modern times now, sort of relatively speaking, we're talking the 80s, it was the screenplay based on a novel.
Yes. Was
done by the guy who wrote the novel, and the movie was also directed by the guy. So that makes it, he's keeping and discarding, keeping what he thinks is cool, discarding what was unnecessary, and still maintaining a nice literary flow. I mean, there's not a whole lot of gore in the movie if you've seen it.
I've heard that they actually remove certain scenes. To me, it's gore enough. Like, it's almost too much. Almost like it's almost distracting to me. I've heard that actually they had a spanking scene there, and they had to remove it because it was too much for 1980s.
For American
Yeah.
spanking scene?
Yeah, they had a spanking
I'm guessing
scene.
that involved Uncle Frank
Of
and
course.
Julia. I'm hoping it did, because otherwise it would be the daughter. There's only two
yeah,
female
I'm
leads.
assuming that it was probably that
Okay.
couple, those two.
And the Cenobites. So now, so you were scared as hell as a kid. You've seen it since then as an adult. In addition to seeing it, the remake of the movie.
No, well, it doesn't seem scary to me now,
Mhm.
mostly because I probably watched it like by now at least 20 times.
Mhm.
Probably more than that because I'm kind of coming back to Hellraiser every year at some point around that time.
You're a fan.
I am a fan, yeah.
Okay. Why?
Because this movie had like probably a lot of. It was very influential to me.
Mhm.
Like when I was watching it for the first time, I wasn't really sure what's going on. Like, but the Cenobites were the coolest things ever. I was totally fascinated by them. And then Frank in his the metamorphosis of Frank was also really cool to me. I loved watching him changing. And I know it's kind of a bullshit, but then the whole romance story, like I kind of made it in my head as a 7-year-old. To me it was kind of like romantic thing to do, right? To sacrifice pretty much everything for some decomposing guy on the attic. So then I was thinking that it's romantic. Now I think it was completely fucked up and just like, I would never do that. But then when I was a kid, and then a little bit later, when I kind of couldn't understand what's going on in this relationship between Frank and Julia.
Yep.
Like now I see it was a kind of like a pathological sadomaso. Not that every sadomaso relationship is pathological, but this was he was abusive, and he was using her for his purposes. When I was little, I couldn't really see it. It was just like romantic. But now I can see like now it's sometimes it feels funny to me, that the whole relationship, because it's super naive and I just can't see it happening unless Frank fucks really well,
of course,
or the husband fucks really badly.
Both of those things.
It just, so then how bad the husband has to be for her to like fantasize about this one? How many times they had sex? Twice? Once?
I think anybody who's been stuck in a bad relationship in which the binding glue is sexual. I think anybody who's been stuck in something like that pretty much understands it. I mean, there's a kind of a junior high school conceit. It's embodied by Prince, I guess best would be, I would die for you, right? Actually, what was it?
I would die for you.
Where's wood? How do you do wood?
He didn't do wood. It was very, I would die for you.
Yeah, right. Okay. All right. So that's a very kind of juvenilia. It's kind of the way somebody who's 13 or 14-year-old thinks, because it's easy. In one fell swoop, you would do something glorious and then you'd be dead. It's much harder to live with somebody, and harder yet still to say, I would kill for you. Now that's something. Which is essentially what Frank came back from the dead, brought to life by his hapless brother's blood, played by the wonderful Andy Robinson, who's claimed the fame in my mind was, of course, Dirty Harry. What about my rights? Which is, if you haven't seen Dirty Harry, that's something we should. Based in San Francisco, like it was all a fantasy land. Have you ever seen Dirty Harry?
I did.
Yeah, so it's weird.
I will watch it again.
Yeah, there you go. So, Julia found herself in a situation, I think, like Kasia said, sitting at the nexus of caught between a brother who fucks really well and a husband who fucks pretty poorly. It was clear that, I mean, we don't know much about Julia other than, that she's made some bad life choices. I really, really super enjoyed them fucking on her wedding dress.
Yes, that was a really nice touch.
Yep.
It was on point. I
Yep.
really liked it too.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reality of it is, we know Frank was probably a terrible person and did terrible things on his way to getting the box, right? Because the point wasn't the cash. The point was what you had to do to get the cash, to get the box.
Mhm.
Like the guy in the beginning says, who gives him the box, it was yours all along. In other words, these roads don't converge. These roads don't diverge. They converge. And I thought that was only the kind of touch that a guy who wrote the novel could have brought into it. And it seems to me that what's super compelling about this post-death passion play, because that's really what it is. The Cenobites, if you've watched 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I mean, we watched them all. If you watch
Unfortunately, we did. Yeah, I did twice in my lifetime.
So it's not ruining it to let you know that the Cenobites at some point are returned to their human form, but it's not entirely clear to us, at least in my memory of this, whether or not they were like vampires. And when they returned to their human form, like it was they died. I mean, keep in mind that the Pinhead was a British officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you bring him back in the 80s, well, he was a British officer in the 40s when he discovered the box, So, and he didn't come back as an old man. So this is kind of confusing and unanswered. Of course, if you step out of the dimension that we currently exist in, time ceases existing. So maybe he left as a 40-year-old man, spent his time as a Cenobite, and then came back as a 40-year-old man. Who knows? I don't remember that. But what do you make of the Cenobites in regards to hell? Are they from hell, or are they demons?
It's hard to tell. Like in general, I
mean,
feel...
Cenobite means it's like a religious order.
Yes.
That's what the word
yes.
is, right?
I know that. But to me, in general, in this movie, in the first part, and probably in the other parts too, there was not enough Cenobites. Like, I would love to actually... Let me finish, actually. I'm talking to myself. The Cenobites are very significant in this movie, but for some reason, there's like not enough of them. I would like to know like more who they are. Why are they lost Frank? Like, what? He just escaped, and he escaped so well that they didn't know that he did.
Yeah, presumably they've been doing it for long enough so that people don't typically escape. So this is an unanswered question.
Yeah,
but this question I know from the book was not answered.
And then, who is Frank? Like, I don't know. I haven't read the book. I've heard that there's more about Frank in the book, but what was he looking for really? Like, what kind of pleasures? Was he actually like subtle masochist? Like,
yeah, it was
like Marquis de Sade type of pleasure, or was he just like an ordinary guy who likes to fuck and he was looking for some super creepy thing?
No, he was looking for extremes of experience, right? So much more a Marquis de Sade turn of events, it seems like. So, but
okay, so it makes more sense to me now. That he actually found the, how you call it, the cube, the puzzle cube.
He searched for it.
Yes.
Presumably did horrible things in order to obtain it, and then once he obtained it, opened it. I mean,
but then why he was so what was he expecting from it?
I mean, there are a couple of things that
they offered him pleasures of heaven and what, and of hell.
Yes. Okay. So
of heaven and hell, I guess.
Heaven and hell. Do they use those words themselves, or does he say that? He says that. They never cop. They do at one point. They said, if you're lying to us, girl, your sufferings will be legendary, even in hell. He says, if you're lying to us, girl, your sufferings will be legendary, even in hell. Even in hell seems to be like, even at McDonald's, it seems to be a specific other place, not necessarily the place they come from. So outside of Frank's take of pleasures of heaven, pleasures of hell, we don't have anything that's explicitly Judeo-Christian about it, right?
Yeah.
Except for the recurring thing. It starts a movie and ends a movie, or sort of, it's the early, totemic late, Jesus wept.
Yeah, it's funny. I just wanted to talk about it.
Okay.
Why he said that?
Well, that means this is
Jesus.
this means something somehow.
Uh, it was just confusing to me because it was just like a sentence thrown in the space by Pinhead, right?
I don't think so. I remember at one point I had looked it up, and it was sorry. We had fa. It's a phrase famous for being the shortest verse in the King James version of the Bible, as well as many other versions. It is not the shortest in the original languages, however. So
Okay.
so let's find out the significance. Context. This occurs in John's narrative of the death of Lazarus of Bethany, a follower of Jesus. Lazarus, I'm guessing, is the guy they brought back,
from death. Yeah.
back. Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. All right. So Jesus, after talking to the grieving sisters and seeing Lazarus' friends weeping, was deeply troubled and moved. After asking where Lazarus is laid and being invited to come see, Jesus wept. That's the Gospel of John 11:35. He went to the tomb, told the people to remove the stone covering it. He prayed aloud to his Father and ordered Lazarus to come out resurrected. Okay.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay.
I'm glad that that we did the research now.
Right. I mean, yeah, we were too busy trying to get the show going. So, what does that mean? Weeping demonstrates that Christ was a true man with real bodily functions: tears, sweat, blood, eating, drinking. They don't mention loads, but I'm guessing those are in there too. They don't mention loads. Maybe it's Wikipedia, so maybe I should correct it and add loads.
You can like add something.
Maybe you don't know what I mean when I talk about loads.
Maybe don't say that.
I think that's more of a show than a tell. Right. His emotions and reactions were real. Christ was not an illusion, a spirit. Okay, so the setup is the rage he felt against the tyranny of death over mankind. Bystanders interpreted weeping to mean that Jesus loved Lazarus, but I don't think so.
Did Jesus know Lazarus?
It says that he groaned in his spirit because he groaned in his spirit because even those who were closest to him failed to recognize that he was, as he declared in verse 26, the resurrection and the life. So he wept in sympathy with their sorrow over Lazarus' death because apparently they didn't see that he was going to. I don't know. However, Clive Barker is British.
Yes.
Okay. So I'm pretty sure he's very definitely British. So in Great Britain, Ireland, in Dublin and Belfast, specifically Australia, the phrase "Jesus wept" is a common curse, or spoken when something goes wrong, or to express mild incredulity.
Okay, that
is also
even
used
more sense.
Sarcastically when expressing unsympathetic indifference to someone else's perceived unfortunate situation or self-pity.
Okay.
This is great.
Okay, now now everything is so much clearer.
And they mentioned Hellraiser there. So outside of that,
Okay, so
this was the only Judeo-Christian. So these are the Judeo-Christian tent poles, as well as Frank's mention of heaven and hell. Yes. Other than that, we don't see. When she thinks Frank is dead and they're cleaning up his room, they put out all the graven images of saints.
Yeah, he's collecting them apparently.
Okay, so then what is? Does the story have religious underpinnings or not? Dimensionally speaking, clear the Cenobites come from another dimension, of which there are many dimensions. I mean, that's real. That's not movie talk. That's probably real talk based on Brian Greene and string theory. So
it's time.
Okay. If you were playing that drinking game where you drink every time the poster falls, take a drink.
Yeah, right now.
And you're probably gonna take another one in about 5 minutes when the glass cuts the back of my neck. There we go.
No, don't do that.
All right.
Don't do that.
So I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure about the religious underpinnings, except that we have alternative dimensions. We have, and it doesn't seem to be any moral character to it, except the assumption that the person did something bad.
Yeah, and there's no really concept of sin there either.
Mm-hmm.
And I think later
they're not punishing punishing the openers of the box.
No, they pretty much giving them what they were asking for,
Right.
except a little bit more. So yeah.
Right.
I mean, they're angels to some and demons to others, right? Cenobites, I mean.
Yeah, presumably Frank would have been very happy with his experience.
Yeah, that's why. That's what confuses me about this Frank story. Like, how? First of all, why he escaped, and second, how he escaped.
Well, also we know from the second one that he trades places with his brother. So his brother ends up in a place that they then call hell.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Right. And when Christy goes down to this place that the father has called hell, that Frank has talked about, a place where these pleasures come from, we see Frank there as well.
Yes.
Right. He's stuck there.
Yes.
So maybe the idea of hell is just that this is where you get out of the consciousness soup, where your consciousness kind of constantly regenerates itself in the body of this person or that person. So hell is more, it's where you stop. It's where you stop advancing.
Yeah, what you have in your head, really.
So if you're Buddhist or Hindu, or the concept of nirvana, it's all, or Christianity even, it's all about the process of advancing.
Mm-hmm.
When you're stuck in this place where time doesn't exist, where the pinhead was a British officer, when he goes back to being a British officer, is still the same age because time hasn't existed, that you don't continue with the rising of the consciousness, and that's why it ends up being.
Well.
Right. The pain only exists if you have a body that's mired in time, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how they managed to take the soul, but that's clearly what he's talking about.
Tear your soul apart.
That's what he's talking about. So he's using, much like we use our bodies to catapult our consciousness to the next body. I think that's the idea that if you're catapulting downward, you might get caught.
Mm-hmm. I mean, apparently there's not much body left after what they did to him. So they're probably working on your soul.
Mm-hmm.
But then still, I don't understand how he managed to actually physically come back from there. Like, I understand the blood thing, but what was he doing under the floor of the attic? He didn't do that ritual in the attic.
Yeah, I know.
Unless Cenobites cleaned after themselves.
No. He did do it in the attic, and he dropped the box at the end. And I remember one of them picking it up. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No. They left the box.
But they apparently cleaned up after Frank.
And we know from the second
candles.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, they melted down or something. So, but we know that there's several boxes. From the number 2.
Yes, but
that's not the only box. It seems risky to have left the box there where anybody could have touched it. That doesn't seem right to me.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, if I found something like that, I might try to polish it up and try to move, And he's like, "Yo, bro, no, man, I'm selling this at the garage sale. Hey, I got lemonade out on the lawn. No, I don't want to be torn apart." So it seems like.
But you called.
I guess.
Okay,
it's a bell.
Go away.
It's a bell, and they had to keep it in the story. They had to keep it in the room so that the bell could be answered again. Christy has to open it again. So let them know, like, yeah, well, you guys think you're great. Yeah, well, you missed Frank. So how they missed Frank, we don't know. Does it matter or ruin the story? Not really necessarily.
Not really, but it's kind of like the gap that I was thinking about for years, like how actually he managed to escape.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make any sense to me.
No. Yeah.
Like his soul escaped and find body and hid under the floor. It doesn't make any sense.
Well, based on how badly decomposed the food was, we have to say that. Hear about this. This is a possible fix. We're going to put this on the cuff for Clive Barker. So, given the decomposition of the kitchen goods that they find, let's say maybe he wasn't dead more than a month, or he wasn't disappeared more than a month. So typically, why don't we say that the Cenobites are kind of like, it's like a religious order or a psychopathological religious order. And we know that serial killers frequently, Ted Bundy would come back several times to visit to visit the corpses he left. So maybe that's just what they do until there's nothing really left to come back. And this is just, I'm trying to save it. I don't know. I'm throwing stuff out there. So they would come, like there's one scene where they're going through and they're picking up ears and they're picking up different
Making
things
a little
and
puzzle
of the face. So maybe they return and play with it until they decide to, okay, let's box all this shit up and take it with us. And then the box is taken by the winged demon creature who attends it, who we saw eating crickets, who we saw giving the box in the beginning. Probably
you mean the bomb?
The bum, who ends up being,
He's kind of like protecting the bomb. I wasn't really sure who is this guy and once he turns into a dragon at the end.
Well, that was explicitly Christian because the dragon, the Leviathan.
Yeah. But I understand the Leviathan, why he was a bomb. Like
I think it was a Christ corollary, but it was a clever Christ corollary. It was a Christ corollary without mentioning Christ.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What else? Did you miss anything else?
Yes. The daughter, Kirsty.
Yeah.
She kind of like always was in the right place, but at the wrong time. It feels to me that if I see my father kind of partially decomposing on his face, I'm figuring out that something is wrong. But it took her a lot of time to kind of like realize that, oh, this is you, Frank. It's not my dad.
Yeah. Well,
why is your face like bloody and falling apart?
Well, she didn't see that until
I know she was shocked, but still.
I think what's special about Christy is that Kirsty, that she was not Hollywood. In other words, she was just unattractive enough to. I mean, this is the problem with Hollywood. Typically, and this is what we're concerned about when we're concerned about the remake, if you put an actress in that role who's too attractive, it becomes distracting, and you find yourself at not so much at cross purposes like you're okay seeing ugly people torn to pieces, but all of a sudden it becomes Hollywood. In other words, she wasn't that great of an actress, and she wasn't that attractive, and that, in my mind, much like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, made the story, as incredible as it is, somewhat credible.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, somewhat, Again, wasn't distracting. Just looks like what she was supposed to be, and then that was good casting, I thought.
No, I thought that she was actually perfect. I liked her in this role, and I think she really pulled it.
But when she came to the house, what was she upset about?
First time?
No, before she ran away, and then she passed out, and then something got her to the hospital.
She first time, her father told her to hang with what's her name? I just never remember the name of
Julia. So he goes by.
He said, "Hey,
that's right.
Hey, okay. Help me with my sex problems. Go to talk to Julia and be her friend, right?" So she went to see, and Julia was luring all those dudes to the attic.
So she saw him lure the last guy in.
Yes.
And then the guy hadn't finished killing him. So that was, she freaked out. She threw the box out the window.
No, it wasn't actually. It was first guy. I think it was the first guy.
No. The guy came up and said, "Help me." They'd already killed a bunch of guys because Frank had all he had. He had everything. His nerves had already regenerated, and he just needed an outer skin.
Oh yeah, maybe you're right.
So she grabs a box and she throws the box out the window. She flees.
No,
and then she passes out on the street with the box in her hand.
Yes.
And they pick her up and they take her. The guy leans down on her face. He goes, "Are you okay?" She blacks out.
They taking her to the hospital.
Right. Okay. So she escapes from the
hospital.
So
that was the first guy. Was the first guy. The last guy that died was her father.
The first guy who got killed was a guy who got angry. She was conflicted about killing him, and then he got angry with her. He goes, "The fuck did you bring me here for?" And then you can see her get kind of steely. He goes, "Let's go upstairs." That was guy number one.
Yes.
And then there was a second guy, another young guy who looked like guy number one, who was guy number two. Mm-hmm. Right. So the third guy was the guy in the suit, kind of heavy, pasty faced guy. who they didn't actually kill completely. That was guy number 3. And that's where Christy follows her in the house because she thinks she's going to catch Julia fucking. Julia hides in the corpse room, and Christy goes into the room where Frank is.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Right.
I'm still not sure if it's third or the second, but because I remember that one of the guys, she was hiding the first guy.
Yeah.
From her husband.
Yeah, she hid. That's what I said, in the corpse room.
Yes.
She had two bodies in the corpse room.
Sorry.
And the third guy was So the third guy.
That's why I'm watching this movie every year.
Right. So she flips it. So then she gets worried. She's like,
she gets to the hospital
because Frank. She's fighting with Frank. Throws the box. So she knows Frank's a bad seed. So she gets out of the hospital because she's like, oh my God, my father doesn't know. And so she's freaked out when she shows up at the house. Mm-hmm. So she's already freaked out. Yeah. So there's a reason why she didn't really.
And then there was this horrible rubber demon. She was playing with the cube, and the gates opened, and she got to the
and she dropped the she pulled a Marion Barry. The bitch set me up. She set Frank up. He was like, look, you guys, I'll tell you where Frank is. And so they kind of follow her, even though they're cross-dimensional beings. They follow her back to the house.
It was kind of like that. The first when they told them that, first Cenobites told her, we want the guy who did this.
Right.
And they showed her the corpse.
Right. The smoking body. He had extracted the life essence from this other body. So I guess Frank. Julia was the first one to kill somebody.
And then they told her that they killed it's Frank.
Right.
So at this point,
that was Frank who was doing it. She said his
father was dead at this point, and he was only at the attic.
She said they said they needed proof.
Yes. She said that. Yeah.
And so when she lures him, she runs back to the house to see if the father was okay. Figures out that they put on the father's skin, even though this is another small little thing. Frank and the father look nothing alike. Mm-mm. So it's not like his underpinnings were still Frank, and they just put the skin on. But we're not going to get into that. So he comes back. And he says, "Come to Uncle." I guess he goes,
"Come to Daddy."
No, he says, "Enough of this." At first he says, "Come to Daddy," and then he goes, "Enough of this cat and mouse shit. Come to Uncle Frank." And that's when the lights start going. He goes, "What the fuck is this?" And it's like, man, you've been here before. You should have seen it. So anyway, okay.
And then also, it kind of feels weird to me that Julia would just go for that like that. She just see a fucking pretty much walking corpse. He doesn't have penis. So what? She decided to actually like.
But that's not the issue. She's been fucking his brother unsuccessfully for however many months. That's clear the relationship is having, like Big Mama says with Cat in the Hot Tin Roof, problem between a man and his wife, that either right here, and she points.
But then why be with somebody who's fucking that badly?
Well, it's clear maybe there was a money thing. Don't know. We don't know. Don't know. All right. Okay. So the last thing we're gonna do before we get to the rating thing is we got. Let's pick 4 things. 4 things that they could do to completely fuck up the remake that Hollywood could do. Because we're gonna tweet this out and we're gonna tweet it to the film company that we find out that's making Hellraiser, so they don't fuck it up. So 4 things. Like, in other words, we're gonna tell them this is what you can do to fuck it up, and the assumption being at that point they should choose to not do these things.
Yeah, especially that I would really like this movie to be more focused on actually the feeling rather than the visual.
Right.
So I don't need that movie to be more gore.
So in other words, we don't need more SGI.
SGI?
Yeah, silicon graphics. Computer graphic shit. Don't need more.
I mean, like, yes, you can do actually great special effects, do them, but don't make it more gory. You use them to make this movie actually like fucking up your brain rather than just make you want to vomit and take a shower after all.
Right.
Right?
Also too, if you remember, the Cenobites never, even though they got close to people, they never physically touched them.
And I love Cenobites. They don't change them. They look great.
Well, okay. So could they fuck up the Cenobites?
They kind of tried to do that already by humanizing them and making them kind of cute.
Yes, and
Later,
they do it like with Freddy. So we did so Freddy Krueger by like the seventh Nightmare on Elm Street. He become that irrepressible jokester,
Yeah, and actually,
and Hollywood does it all the time. It's not fucking funny. That's how you ruin it.
Yeah, I've heard that they actually wanted to make Pinhead kind of like Freddy Krueger-esque. Yeah. So he was supposed to be like a creepy jokester. But I think the director actually said, let's actually go for making him intelligent and make that intelligence and smartness, his weapon. Well, listen, so he's terrifying because he's fucking smart, right?
Listen, let me tell you something. You know, when Christopher Nolan why did all the early Batmans fail? They fucking failed. They don't tell me anything else. They failed with Michael Keaton, Jack Nicholson as Danny DeVito as the Penguin. They fucking failed because Hollywood gets in love with this ham-handed stuff, and they think this will be funny. And even if they don't really think it's funny, they think that America is stupid enough to be thinking it's funny. And that, well, of course, it's so fun. People want to leave a movie and have fun. And Christopher Nolan came in and said, fuck that. No. Batman is fundamentally a dark story, made the movies appropriately dark, and they were hits. And you can see Hollywood got to go, oh boy. So Freddy Krueger, yeah, well, it's a successful series. And he was the jokester. Kids were dressing up as Freddy Krueger, and they weren't afraid. Yeah, okay, maybe it was a successful series, but the first one wasn't a fucking comedy. It was about a child killer who was killed by parents who gamed it and buried him somewhere and was a restless soul. So the temptation to make Pinhead kind of comical and wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Don't do that. So that's This is the number one. If you want to fuck up the movie, make him comical, jokey, and make it light and frothy, and you will fuck up this franchise.
Yes.
So that's number one.
Don't make it a jump scare, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
I don't need that either.
Well, hold on. So you said
I don't need more action in this movie.
Right.
I just don't want any actual action.
Exploding shit.
No.
Flying shit.
Flying is fine, but unless it's
well, you know what? I'm building like spaceship. Don't try to make it like Star Wars. Other planet. The later versions have some shit on other planets. Don't want. It's okay. So number one is what do we say? Number one is
cute Pinhead.
Yeah. Don't make it jokey. No Hollywood cheese.
Mm-hmm.
The second one, no Hollywood cheese. And I got a third one.
Yes.
And it has to do with the fucking casting. And I know you're fucking tempted to. This worked because they were unknown people. I don't want to see Shia LaBeouf playing Frank. I don't want to see Kirsty played by Jennifer Lawrence. I don't want to see.
She's a little too big for play Kirsty.
Yeah, I don't want to see Julia played by Meryl Streep. Don't make any predictable choices for this one. Don't do this.
Yes, please. And also, the acting in the original Hellraiser wasn't the best.
And that actually in my mind, added to the movie.
I think so. Yep. So, I mean, I don't mind good acting. Just put good actors, don't put Hollywood actors in this movie.
Right. So, in other words, in the Hollywood remake, what we're telling Hollywood is
make it as dark as possible. And by dark, I mean not gory. I mean dark.
Disturbing,
yeah.
And
gloomy.
What we're asking you to do is to not Hollywoodize this Hollywood movie. And it's going to be tough. You're going to have to maintain a focus and a strength, but don't turn it into a cute fucking mess because you're going to waste your money. I don't know. And if you can help it, involve Clive Barker. That makes good sense to me. But don't have Clive Barker say, this was a $100 million series, so we're going to give you all this computer-generated stuff that you can do. And don't let Clive Barker in if he's going to go crazy. Say, I want to do all the stuff that I couldn't do before, so when the box opens up, it's like laserium. We don't need that. We don't fucking need that. Do not do that. Mm-hmm. If you don't do these things, okay, so those are the things four things they shouldn't do. What could they do to make it even cooler?
With more I just want more Cenobites on the screen in some way. Not just more. Just make them. Just make them appear more.
Well, this is the
better.
cursor from Dusk Till Dawn, right? When the camera pulls out the end and you see that the whole fucking movie took place in one bar room and the bar was at the top of a ziggurat, a pyramid. They could have had chase scenes all throughout the whole thing. I personally, and the second one you see a little bit, I want to know more about where they came from. When I say no, I mean see.
Yes.
I want to see them on their home territory. That's way more interesting to me than in the later version spaceship, in the later version teenagers at a rave. Fuck all that stuff. Don't want to see that. Don't want to see it. I want to see more about where they come from.
Yes.
Which is tough because how do you do it without not being a Judeo-Christian framework? They did it in Phantasm, so you could do it again for the remake. So
one and two, I want to know the background. Frank's background is actually interesting to me because he's a pretty much main character in this movie.
Right.
So I want to know, like, I know now, I'm assuming that he was into sadomaso and stuff like that. But in original Hellraiser, it's kind of confusing. Why is he looking for all those? I understand that they had like a limited time to show it, but I think that there's a smart way to actually kind of develop this character a little bit more.
We're not talking about pages of document.
No, I just want
half a page.
I just want to know why is how he found himself in that situation. I want to know a little bit further what was going. Like she was like watching some random photos of him having sex, but it was just just sex. There was nothing very
evil about them explicitly.
The sadistic about it.
Yeah. And we see a lot of Frank's knife, but we don't. I mean, he uses it. He kills Julia with it at the end, or stabs her at the end
by accident.
Yeah, maybe, but then he starts sucking the life out of her.
Yeah,
so,
it wasn't accidental.
Yeah, so
he was into Kirsty.
Yeah, but before then, he only used to cut off her dress, and that's
this scene is like terrible too.
Why? I enjoyed that. It was.
I enjoyed that too, but it's like if a dude is coming to me is telling me, Mike is the bride.
Yeah, what about
my soon-to-be husband?
Yeah.
Forget about it.
Yeah, but this is
like, dude, if you're pulling a knife on me, I'm gonna fuck you up, okay?
Yeah, but it was clearly
it
was clearly part of the sex play because he brandishes it, and then she looks, and then she holds his hand, so it's clearly part of the sex.
Yeah, she was aroused by being kind of slightly victimized.
Bad boy.
Bad boy. She was waiting for him to grow some balls at some point.
The husband.
No, Frank.
Oh, you mean when he was reconstituting his body?
He didn't have any. And you know what the worst part is that she didn't wait. She didn't have ever chance to actually.
She never fucked Frank again.
that was very sad part of the movie that she did all of it. She just absolutely sacrificed everything, including her life, and she never got fucked again.
Yeah, which
another thing that's very confusing to me. There's that scene when Kirsty or police guys finding her in that position, like she was actually calling Cenobites. Like how?
Who?
They found her on a mattress.
Oh, right. Yeah.
With the cube?
Yeah, the cube is no.
Anyway, she's on this mattress that Frank was on, and she was just like in a weird position. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, it does because Frank did this thing and got her, and Kirsty was somewhere else in the house, or he didn't stick that. Like she was holding Kirsty, he goes to stab, and Kirsty moves.
Yes.
And so then they just fuck it, and then he grabs her, and we see him suck the life out of her. Then Kirsty runs upstairs to the attic room. And so presumably he had time to lay her in the bed before he went upstairs.
Well, why would he do that?
Well, it was just easier to drop her on the staircase.
Really? I wouldn't think it's easier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were right there by the door. So anyway, okay.
Maybe they had sex actually when he put the father's face. I don't know.
Well, we
maybe.
Don't. Oh, they did.
They did. Sorry.
Because I kept waiting for the skin to fall off.
Yes.
And of course, yeah. And that's a weird thing. Like, it's not like you know, we don't want to be those guys who watch Superman and go, "Oh, sure, cape, he can fly."
No,
I mean,
but,
you know, it was Frank's penis, but the brother's skin, but the penis has got a solid tube, so that you cut. He's had the raw. I mean, it's a lot. Okay, we're not gonna get into that. All right, so let's do the ranking thing because we gotta go. So this is where we give it a ranking. Ready?
Oh, that's hard. That's a hard.
Okay, yeah, but we gotta do it because we got an hour and I'm tired of talking.
Yeah.
So,
okay, I'm just gonna open my mind and just let my fingers.
Okay, do what they do. On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. Ding. So you gave it 7. I gave it 8.
Oh, that's very rare that you actually.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I didn't like it. I think that there's a lot of things to work on to make it actually a perfect horror movie.
I'm giving it.
I like 7 too.
I'm giving it an 8 because it like Denny Green when he had his famous meltdown. They were who we thought they were. This is as it was. You know, it didn't have pretense of being another kind of movie that it failed to be, or trying to be this and not succeeding in trying. It set out to do something, which was to give life to his. I think maybe it was a novella. I don't know. I can't remember now whether it was a full book or novella or whatever. Because he used to do these collections. So the Books of Blood, I think, were the collections. So it was pretty. I mean, is it better than Citizen Kane? Nope. But it wasn't trying to be better than Citizen Kane. It's like one point in Don't Look Back, they're asking Bob Dylan about his voice, and Bob Dylan goes, "Look, I could sing better than Caruso if I wanted to. I just don't want to." Mm-hmm. And this is like Clive Barker could have made Raging Bull if he had wanted to, but he didn't want to. Instead, he made Hellraiser, and in my mind, it's probably the most perfect version of Hellraiser he could have made. We'll see what happens.
Well, yeah, the times, you know. I just want to see Hellraiser as beautiful as Dracula, you
know. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see. So anyway, so that's it. Enjoy your Easter, which is coming up. If you're overseas watching this, you're already into your Easter. If you are a Hebrew, you're celebrating Passover, Pesach, and technically you shouldn't be. I know I'm mispronouncing it. It's like Hanukkah at the end of Pesach. Hey, my Ivrit is bad. So you're not supposed to be watching this until. Well, maybe you can. I guess if you finish with dinner, you can do it. Any case, whether it's Passover, Pesach, or whether it's Easter that you're celebrating, it was P-E-S-E-A-C-H. But the CH is like the CH from Hanukkah. Mm-hmm. So it's a Pesach, you know. It's
kind of like you have a little hair in your
something like that. So anyway, no matter what religious holiday you're celebrating, you know, suggest you relax, turn on Hellraiser, watch it, enjoy it, live it, love it. Thank you.
Grow some balls, paint them, and they eat them.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from, but grow balls that you eat.
No, because
eating balls.
In Polish, eggs are like the word for ball, so that's why I'm like.
Okay, that makes more sense. So right below where
so they're always, when people are telling you happy eggs for Easter, yep. So we always like see the balls.
That's what we say huevos in Spanish. They mean eggs, but sometimes it uses huevos. They mean
like cool eggs.
Yeah. I begged. Careful with my balls. They're fragile like eggs.
See?
That's ODB for your pleasure. But right below, there's a thumb. Click the thumb up, and this comes to you courtesy of the Eugene S. Robinson Show Stomper, which I was gonna do tonight. I'm not. I'm gonna get up early tomorrow and do it because I'm tired. I want to start drinking. So anyway, thanks for listening.
We have our priorities. Thank you, and also tell us what you think about Hellraiser. We would like to discuss with you always, and also tell us what next movie would you like us to talk about?
I mean, it's not like we're going to listen to you always, but recommendations are good.
We love recommendations. So,
yeah.
And we love to discuss with you.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, see you. Thanks for listening.